Hello everyone, it's James here from Yati Yoga. Do you suffer from hip pain? Well, guess what? You're not alone. One of the most common pains in the body is due to muscular aches. This can be caused from overuse, it can be caused from injury, it can be caused from tension, poor posture, and even prolonged sitting or no movement. And where does it all start from? Well, they did a test and a survey, and they found that 49% of people found that they had pain around the pelvic area, hips, and lower back. 39% said the joints, elbows, knees, shoulders. And of the people that were asked, 56% said that they felt pain in three or more places, which sort of means that when one place is out of alignment, maybe it affects others. We're going to go on and look at the anatomy now. So, we're going to look at some hip joint anatomy. The hip joint is a ball and socket joint. It's quite a large joint and it's quite a strong joint. From the pictures, you can see where it gets complex is probably in the muscles. To the left, you've got the anterior chain, and to the right, you've got the posterior chain. As you can see, there is a large amount of muscles that either work with the hip, surround the hip, or just help with leg movement. Also comes into our lower backs as well. Whether you're an athlete and it becomes an overuse injury, or whether you're sedentary and it's more of an underuse injury, again, all the relevant rehab that we can do, it can be done for all. The first and foremost, we've got to identify which are the muscles that are causing that pain, and then we go about fixing those muscles. So, we've identified a problem of having some hip pain, we've had a look at the anatomy, and now we're going to try and look at the solution. And just remember that hip pain can include a lot of different people. Athletes can suffer from hip pain just for the repetitive hip flexion that they do. An office worker who spends 8 hours in a desk seated can suffer from hip pain just because they're in that prolonged position for a long time. Poor posture can cause also hip pain, and again, obviously injury as well. So the solution can help many. So now we're going to look at the solution. So sometimes with hip pain, depending what the hip pain is and what muscles are sore and how severe it is, a lot of the rehabilitation and a lot of the recovery can be done by yourself. The first thing that we normally look at to do is massage. And that's where we use some trigger point therapy and even a foam roller just to really start to get into the muscle and start to loosen the fascia. The second part of it that we look at is to do a stretch. So once the muscles and the fascia has been released, then we can start to really look at stretching those muscles. The third part is that we look at doing some strengthening work. So we look at doing some exercises that can help strengthen the surrounding area to help alleviate that hip pain. And then lastly, what we're going to do is we do some movement exercises for maintenance and to keep all the work that you've done to rehabilitate your hip region to keep it strong for the future. Let's have a look. So step one of the solution to alleviate hip pain is the release part, the massage, and the therapy part. So if you've got tennis ball, like a hockey ball, or even one of these that you can buy online, it's a little bit harder than a tennis ball. This will help you start to release the muscles with some trigger work. The four main areas that I'd like you to concentrate on when you're trying to release the body is what we're going to do is, I'll just move that out of the way, but with the ball, the four areas that we're going to look at is placing the ball underneath your glutes and rolling underneath your glutes. So quite simply, you place the ball down, you'll lie down, you'll start to feel a sore spot, You can bend through your knees, you can use your hands, and then you just lift in your bottom on top of that ball, trying to find the sore spot. And then when you do, you can release that leg down, creating weight on the area to put more pressure through, and just slowly start to bring that leg down. And then find those painful spots and just let that leg release. That's number one. Number two that we're going to do with the trigger point is through the stomach area and through those hip flexor muscles, psoas major, psoas minor, iliacus. So again, same kind of format here. Placing the ball into the stomach area, trying to roll around, find the sore spot, and then when you do, you can just try and really put some pressure through there. One way to do it is to bring your hands to the side and lift your body up just to create more pressure through those hip flexor muscles. Again, stay there for a little while until that pain releases. And then just bring in that body down. So that's a couple of areas that you can do with the trigger point. The next thing that we're going to look at is the foam roller. Now with the foam roller, the areas that you'd be looking at rolling would be the quadricep muscles, especially up nice and high. We'd also look at doing through the inner leg muscles or your adductor muscles, through sartorius as well. And then we'd look at going through the outside of the leg, so doing ITB and TFL. So again, the way that this looks, if you were to do the inner leg, place it on its side, bring the inside of your leg on, and then just rolling across nice and slowly. You can find the sore spot and just start to flex the leg and bend through the knee, just like so. That's one. A second one can be the front of the quad. So this is where you're onto the roller like so, and just rolling through that top part of the quad. Again, putting that pressure, find that sore spot. You can stay there for a little while. Okay, and then one more place that you'll do is that outer leg. So doing that ITB area. Again, placing it this time on the outer leg. You can bring one leg over just to give you support. One hand on the floor or two hands on the floor. And then just rolling through that leg, up and down, and rolling through the outer leg. So try those few exercises when it comes to the trigger point. You can also get that ball and place it onto the outside of the hip and work through that again with your weight on the floor. They're really good again to do the release. Same with the foam roller. Once we've done the release, then we can move into step two and do the stretching. Okay everyone, so part two of the hip rehab, or helping to release hip pain, we're going to move into the hip stretches. So stretch one, what we'd like to do, just a nice hip flexor stretch, is we come into this position here, knee is underneath your hip, knee is underneath your ankle on the front leg. Now, some of us, our hips are anteriorly rotated. What you want to do is you want to engage those hips. So you're going to bring those hips forward and engage that hip flexor. Already you might have some tightness here. From this position, keeping the hip engaged, keeping all this nice and strong, you want to bring your body forward. So you're bringing your body forward from the hips, keeping this engaged. It's going to increase the tension through this hip flexor. If you want to take it a step further, arms up, keep pushing the hips forward as you bring your body back. And slowly release. So that's number one for the stretches. Number two, again, a lot of these do relate to yoga poses. So I'll show you number two, but number two is a pigeon. You'd come up into your yoga downward dog, but what you're trying to do is bring this front leg, bring the right knee underneath the right wrist, turn the right foot, not out, as far in as possible, and then slowly slide that back leg back, and you'll start to feel tension through this outer hip. And this is called a pigeon pose in yoga, but a really good hip opening exercise. You can increase this by bringing your body down further. You can even bring your arms out extended and head down. So that is stretch number 2. The third one that we're going to look at is called a Spider-Man. Hands are on the ground, your body's up. You're bringing your right leg forward and on the outside of your right hand. Drop your hips forward and then bring your leg back. This time left leg outside of the left foot. Drop your hips forward and then bring the leg back. And just keep going. Hips forward and back. Bit more movement based stretch this one. It could even be added to our last section of our rehab, but we've got it in here for now. So just making sure that when you do come forward, it's the drop the hips forward and then come back. Okay, number 4 is a butterfly. Legs are crossed, or not legs are crossed, but we're sitting on our bottoms, feet are together, and we're just slowly going to put pressure down on our knees to just start to open up through those legs. You can bounce a little bit here and just trying to create more and more range through your groin. Okay, couple more to go. Second last one is called a frog. Very simply, you've got your knees out to the side. You can turn your feet outwards as well. What you're trying to do is bring your hips back to your heels. You'll feel tightness at the bottom and then release it and come forward. Bring your hips down to your heels. Feel that tightness at the bottom. Slight pause here and then come forward. Hips down and hips up, with the goal of ultimately creating more movement and greater range as you do it, and trying to become as much pain-free as possible. The last one that we're going to do is a standing stretch. Going to bring your left leg over your right leg, and then slowly what we're going to do is so I've brought the left leg over the right. I'm going to bring my body down into the left, and I'm coming down to this right leg, and I'm letting this right hip drop down to get a really long stretch right through the outside of that right leg, through ITB, past the knee and down into the side of the calf. Remembering that what you do on one side, you do on the other. So again, just trying to release these the hip area, the muscles, like so. Show you it on the other side. This time right leg comes over the left. I turn my body heading towards the left leg this time, bringing my body to the right side. Again, feeling that tension through the outer left side now. And then slowly come up. That's the end of the stretches. Okay, everyone, so we're trying to work at repairing or getting pain-free for our pelvis area and our hips. We looked at some different massage and release techniques. We looked at some different stretches that we can do. Now we're going to move on and have a look at some of the strengthening exercises that we can do. So first and foremost, we're going to look at that posterior chain. Plain and simply, we've got a back extension. Hands under the chin, lift your body up and holding and working through your lower spine here. Again, you can extend your arms forward to create more tension here. You can have a little bit of an arm movement whilst you're up, bringing the arms, head and body down, lift up, back, forward and down. So that one there is working through your lower back. The second one that we're going to look at is this working through our glutes. Chin to the mat, bringing your hands with your palms on your thighs. And then from here, we're just lifting our legs up, squeezing through your glutes and just lifting up nice and controlled and slowly, but just starting to activate your glute muscles and even into your hamstring muscles. Okay, so that's number 2. The next one that we're going to look at is we're just going to look at doing some inner leg lifts. So again, we tend to be very quad and hamstring dominant, but we also need to work inner and outer leg. So to work that inner leg, you can just do your lifts like so. And you can also do that with the outer leg, so doing your outer leg lifts. Again, if you feel that you want to increase that, you can lift up and hold a brace, which is working again through those obliques, but it's also working through the outer leg to hold this position. Vice versa, you can have the inner leg of the opposite leg, lift the other leg up, and you can hold that brace, and this way you're working through the inner leg. Okay, so you've got some inner leg holds that you can do. You can do some outer leg holds. You can do some outer leg raises, and you can do some inner leg raises. With that, you've got your quad work, and you've also, with that, you've got your glute work and lower back work as well. The last things we're going to look at will be movement. So the last thing we're going to look at is movement, and just some really simple movement exercises you can do just to keep those hips moving. Arms up, bring your body down into a deep squat. You can bounce here for a little bit. You can just try and move left and right with your feet forward and back. You can come up and you can bring your body back down. Trying to stay here for 3 minutes or so when you do it. You can roll through your feet just to create some movement through your glutes, through your hips, and through your lower spine. So just a nice, easy, deep squat. The second one I'd like you to look at is called a side lunge. Very simply, instead of doing a front-on lunge and working in that frontal plane, we're going to go and bring the leg out to the side, keep the body going forward, working through the inner groin on the other side as well, and coming back in one movement. Leg steps out, body comes down for a side lunge. Again, what you do on one side, you do the same on the other side with that side lunge. Step it out, drop the body down, bring the body back together. And the last one that we're going to look at is just doing some stuff for the outer hips, where you might drop into a squat. As you're coming up, bring that leg behind the body, squat it down again, really feeling tension through that outer hip, ITB area, and bring it back into a middle squat. This time leg goes the other way, and we do it again, feeling it through that outer area. Try those 3 exercises as well for the strengthening component to help rehabilitate your hips.